Great.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Thanksgiving. Well, I'm saying Thanksgiving Eve tonight for the pre-show people, or the just live stream people, I guess. But it's really a post-Thanksgiving episode of Bloody Good Horror. By the time you hear it, where we will be reviewing Smile, one of the bigger theatrical horror releases of 2022. Got a lot of buzz at the time it came out, and finally, John, the podcast of record, is here to lay it down on Smile. So let's get into that.
The record is catching up.
That's right. We're here. We're here to give the verdict. The verdict. Joining me tonight, first up, from Manhattan, New York City. Please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Hi, Eric.
Next up on the show from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
And last up tonight from Memphis, Tennessee, please welcome Elizabeth back to the show.
Hey, y'all.
That's the first time I ever said that without a Southern accent.
Yeah.
I went to do it. I had to pull myself back.
Superb Southern accent.
Thank you.
That's gross.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of, because I'll forget otherwise, I cut this girl's hair today, y'all. She was Mia Goth from,
Pearl.
I guess Pearl. Yeah. Because she had the accent. Oh my God. It was wild. Like, I was like, I'm not going to tell you to watch this movie because I don't want to be that person responsible for watching a girl fuck a scarecrow. But
I guess the accent was authentic then. There you go. John, I was pretty.
And you're just like,
she was a walk-in. I'm sure I will
movie.
never see that young lady again. She was really nice. But I was
John,
like, "Dude, you look
John, you
enough."
emailed me today. We started our Smile thread last night, and I was a little late to the party. And then you emailed me and said you were on pins and needles, waiting to hear what I had to say about the movie.
It was not just to you.
No, but it was about me, John. That's the point. That's why I got excited.
Because we had all weighed in, and I was just very anxious. I really wanted you to come in over the top rope, let's say.
Yeah, over the top.
Yes.
I like
we'll
it.
We'll
didn't.
talk about
You
it,
didn't.
but I was very reserved in my initial response.
Yes, you were.
Because I'm a nice person. I just like to like.
Oh no, that's
Also, I'm a little bit of a pussy, I think. I just wanted to be like what other people.
right. Well,
Like,
John, you just live rent free in my head, so it was really just nice to know that I was taking up a little real estate in yours. It made me feel loved, honestly.
So what he said is you sent that last night, and he was dancing around his apartment going, he noticed me, he noticed me.
I was withholding, and you felt the impact of that, and that made me feel powerful. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Well, I was keyed up. I mean, look, this is, as you mentioned, like this was
I'm with you. Like, yeah.
Well, the movie was buzzed about pre-release, and then you said it was it made like $200 million in the theater.
Wow.
It's
That's
like the horror
a lot
movie
of fucking
for-
money.
I remember
Like,
it
that's a
being.
lot.
I remember it being a big around Halloween. So like about almost a
Yeah.
month ago at this point.
It made 214.
John, can
I think I
go ahead?
well go ahead.
I was gonna say something.
No.
I was just gonna say I recommend to you being depressed and never getting excited for anything, and then that way you can't be disappointed. It
Yeah,
works
I don't know.
great.
I'll look into it, I guess.
Oh, John, you couldn't be depressed if you tried.
I have tried. It doesn't last.
You're such a beautiful soul.
You really are.
I'm actually shocked. Like the budget on this set is 17 million. That's like a lot of money for
Mhm.
a fucking horror movie. What I had read is that this was originally developed for streaming, and so then I see that budget. And I'm like, well, there's no fucking way though that they spent $17 million on a direct to streaming movie. So I don't know if they like saw a cut of it and they're like, oh, you got to add some more effects in here, or what, like where that money went at a certain point.
I
It's
do
like,
because whatever. Let's just wait. We'll get into
there's
the movie.
no
We can talk about it.
actors in this movie. All right, let's get into it.
But listen, it's not an indie horror film. This is a studio horror film. Studios piss away 17 million like a studio doesn't understand unless you're like the Blum that you could make this movie for $5 million. They're just like this is so clearly shit out of like a studio setting. I just think it's how they do things.
I think Elizabeth's Taylor Swift just tried to take out Ticketmaster.
That's her cat's name.
Stadium, that's for sure.
That's the cat's name, BT Dub.
That is my cat's name.
All right. Well, let's get into it here. Let's take a quick break so that we can review Smile.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
Would it surprise you to know, John, that I'm not a big smiler? Would that surprise you? You are, though.
If you smile once during the show, it's actually.
I'm smiling right now. This may be the only time I smile all week.
Yeah, no.
John, please bring us the word of the day.
Today's word is smirk. That's SMIRK. Smirk.
Mm-hmm.
It's a verb or a noun. I'm going to start with the noun. A smug, conceited, or silly smile.
That I'm good at.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. I got that one down.
The verb is just to smile in a smug, conceited, or silly way. So it comes from the Old English. I can't even. It's SMEARCAN. Smearcian.
Smirkin?
From a base. Yeah, smirkin. From a base shared by smile. So it's actually. The early sense was to smile. It later gained a notion of smugness or something. Like it just split off from smile at some point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Smirking. I like it. John, can you tell me about Smile?
I mean, I only know what I sort of mentioned previously, which was this was so we watched this on Paramount, right? It's on Paramount Plus right now.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
I watched
Where did I see this?
4 days ago, John. Who can say?
Yeah, but I mean, this was like originally. My understanding is when it was originally greenlit, it was to go direct to streaming. You know, horror is like a nice thing for streaming because you don't need to spend a lot of money doing it a lot of the time. As we were just discussing, they spent a lot more than I was shocked how much they spent on this apparently. But yeah, it comes from this guy. I just had his page up. Stand by. His name is Parker Finn. Parker Finn, writer and director here. He's directed 2 other shorts. This is his first feature. And the movie is like based on the story Laura Hasn't Slept, which is also the name of another short.
Okay. Because you know what this feels a lot like? It feels a lot like Lights Out, which is another movie that was based on a short.
Yeah, so that short, Laura Hasn't Slept, 2020, Smile, 2022. Yeah, I mean, so like I don't know, like whether or not they're exactly the same. Like he made a short, he got the studio money as you indicated, and he made this film. So I mean, there's like a handful of like vaguely recognizable actors in this. I did not know the main actress at all. Like, had you guys seen her in anything?
Almost Hilary Swank. I had never seen her.
The only person I knew in this whole movie was the first Smile girl who's on screen for like 5 minutes.
I've seen the Smile guy.
Well, Cal Penn.
Cal Penn, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, Cal Penn is probably the most famous person in a not comedic role.
Right.
Like,
no, and the last time I saw him in something, it was like the most random non-comedic role also, and it was a horror movie. And I just remember being like, "Hi, Cal Penn."
Yeah.
Well, didn't he work for Obama?
Yeah,
he did for a while.
Yeah.
This is actually the second thing I've seen Cal Penn in this week as a disapproving boss.
Oh, interesting. What was the other thing?
I'm trying to think. It was on this new season of American Horror Story.
Oh, is that good?
He was, I liked it. He was the police captain or something. He had a small part, but he was the disapproving police captain. Like, I'm gonna take your badge.
Oh, he was the sleazy photographer and the girl in the photographs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the guy Kyle Gallner.
Oh
My best
yes,
He's
My best
been
friend.
in
Kyle Gallner.
tons of stuff.
We
I don't know.
last saw Gallner as a
Scream
townie in
6.
Scream 6. Yeah.
Oh,
He plays like
nice.
somebody's random kid, like a known character's
Mhm.
kid.
So I
something.
didn't know this before, but I'm reading it now. Kyle Gallner and I grew up like less than 30 minutes away from each other.
No
So
shit.
yeah, good dude. Like the cut of his jib already. So Smile, the basic plot here is, if you're familiar, fuck, now I'm gonna forget the name of the movie. What's the movie that this is
It
just a rip?
Follows?
Yes, if you're familiar with It Follows,
It's like It Follows in the Ring.
it's that.
In the rain, yes.
Well,
Do
but
you
like the ring part, like I mean, it is It Follows. Like it
follows.
it's a transmissible, it's a socially transmissible demon killer thing, except the only difference is It Follows has like a little more subtlety and there's like a sexually transmitted aspect. Here it's just like you see someone kill themselves, you are traumatized by that, and then you have to like pass that trauma on to someone else.
Mhm.
That's it. And so like this main woman, Sosie Bacon is the actress's name, Dr. Rose Cotter. She's a psychiatrist at a hospital. She experiences someone who comes into the hospital, and like when you are infected, when you have been smiled at, I don't know, you like see shit. I mean, we should talk about
Who
what
knows?
actually happens, because it's nonsense. Like there's
Who
just
knows?
like the whole
It
universe.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're basically being scared a lot, and until you kill yourself, and
Etc. Etc.
so she sees a woman
Death.
who's like experiencing that. That woman kills herself, and then she's now like sort of on the clock. And so the film is really about Rose trying to like save herself and like figure out what's going on. Kyle Gallner, as mentioned, is the ex-boyfriend, and he's a policeman, and so he's sort of like the one who's going to help her. She also has a fiance, Trevor.
He ends up being the one who helps her. Before that, though, there's a section of the movie where you think he's like a creepy ex-stalker. Like
Well, they don't know exactly.
they
what
make him look
yeah.
very suspect until suddenly he's not.
Yeah, he goes from suspect to just like
Instantly.
no, unambiguously good,
Right.
very quickly. Meanwhile, Trevor, at no point is there any redeeming aspects to him other than he's like very rich, apparently.
Well, did that work for you, John, personally?
I mean, they had a nice house. Like, I'll just
That's true.
say that. So yeah, I mean that's the setup. We mentioned Cal Penn. Is there any? I mean, there's like I was looking through the other actors. There's not.
fine,
There's like a
John.
bunch of set pieces, and we can talk through some of them.
So
but
basically, our doctor gets the smile, and then
Yeah.
she, as our protagonist now, sets out to figure out what's going on because she sees enough to realize something is happening.
Yeah, like remember the ring?
Yeah, well, that's why I invoke the ring because there's a difference there
Yeah.
because It Follows. They're really just running the whole time. Like there's a couple
Sure.
scenes where they're trying to figure it out, but it's constant running. It's one of the things, honestly, that makes that movie good is that it just moves.
Yeah.
But this is much more the Ring where you've got this Naomi Watts kind of character, like hardcore
investigate.
traveling
Yeah.
and investigating, trying to figure out what happens before she succumbs to the smile thing. And yeah.
It's
the
sorry,
movie.
and I just clicked on the page here on her Wikipedia. Sosie Bacon is the daughter of Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick.
Got it.
Huh.
Oh,
I could see it.
I
can
mean,
see it.
yeah, like
hmm
I don't know what to like. That's neither here nor there, but interesting. So
All right, let's do it. Casey,
Yes.
what did you think?
So I had a lot of excitement going into this movie. It's been hyped up well. I bought into the viral marketing like they were doing at the during the World Series and whatnot with the people in the crowd. I thought it was pretty clever. And you slap a gimmick on something like that, it gives you excitement to see that movie and whatnot. I really bought into it. Sadly, by the time we get to the end of this movie, it was not what I was hoping for, and I found it kind of lackluster overall. I don't think it was a terrible movie by any means, but it's not very exciting. And once you get to the end and see it all whittled down, as we've kind of hinted at, a couple of us have hinted at, it's not anything we haven't seen before, right? And it's kind of takes out the freshness of it, and it just feels like kind of an attempt at a morality tale or something like that about trauma and whatnot, and it just doesn't fully hit that mark to make it effective, like something like the Babadook would have been something similar.
Oh, the Babadook.
Theme-wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like with dealing with the trauma and stuff like that. And so it just doesn't hit those same marks. And there's been other movies that have done this, that have done it a lot better. So it makes it, once you get to the end of this and you look back across this, it really kind of takes a lot of the punch out of it, just because it doesn't weigh up to those, to the rest of them. There were, the acting, I was not like offended by any of the acting. Really, overall, I thought it was pretty good. Sosie Bacon was okay, but at the same time, it wasn't like a compelling performance that really sucked you in. And I just want to say, like, plot-wise, when it comes down to the end, I just want to say Kyle Garner is the only one that helped her. Her fiance did not.
Gallner.
He didn't even seem to like her.
I know.
The fiance? No. He abandons her so quickly. It is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
He's like, yeah, I'm all set.
Like, do they know each other? I
Yeah.
just felt very like.
I went deep into the movie before I even realized they lived together, I mean, like, because I missed the first mention of them being fiancés.
You did. You totally asked me something about them deep into the
No,
movie.
no.
And I was like, they're engaged.
Because
But
I
you were like,
missed-
is that her brother?
No.
Like-
They're the first like mention of fiancés is very glossed over, but they're so like weirdly I don't know, like not
They are. They're
close,
very,
and
like,
it's
anesthetized.
the way that he shows up to the house. The first couple times, I felt like they were dating, and he was just coming over to visit. Like,
Yeah.
it really took me a while to figure out they lived together.
I know.
No,
It's just by
there's-
the time you boil it down, though, it's like, hey, Kyle Gardner tried to help her. He at least listened. The boyfriend ghosted her. Why not fuck with him?
Well, because the movie kind of makes it seem like he's a psycho the first time you meet him. Like,
Yeah.
it's bizarre. Elizabeth, what'd you think?
Yeah. I'm pretty lukewarm, to be very kind, on this film. Here's what it is. I have a lot of trouble, like, not just celebrating something because I can't make a movie. Like, whatever. This got made, and good job for everybody involved.
Good
And,
job.
They're like, you did it.
Congratulations.
Category of film
you know,
criticism.
any females in the industry involved with this, good on you. Like, I celebrate what there is to enjoy about this film, which is not much for me. For the average normie moviegoer, I'm sure this is fabulous and fine. If you've never seen It Follows, or like saw The Ring once but forgot about it, go have a great time. Like, get your popcorn, enjoy. I literally, like, it's like hitting you over the head with a dead fish if you've seen either of those movies more than once, how derivative this is of those films in a way that, like, was distracting to me. Like, it really was hard for me to get anywhere with what they were trying to do, which we can talk about that too. It's not at all nuanced or subtle. Like, it was just very like I want to applaud like message movies, especially in the mental health space, but like it felt like an after school special, almost. Like, it was like very so on the nose that like that aspect of even was like not great for me. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was like acted particularly well. Like, it bothered me that the protagonist would get scared by a smile thing, and then it would cut away in a way that gave you no resolution about, like, are these things supernatural? Do they evaporate in a puff of smoke?
Yeah, what they were threatening to
Why
kill
don't they
her.
kill you
The scene-
when they just
and
are
then
there?
she's like, she's fine.
The scene
Right,
with
like-
the scene with the sister is especially egregious because that's an insane scare, and then it just cuts away
it's
to the next
fine.
scene.
Yes,
You're like,
that,
what?
when I saw that in the trailer, was effective. By the time I made it to the movie, I was like, what else do you have? Like, I'm really just like wearing thin on this pretty quickly. It falls into this like sub genre I am just not a fan of, that I kind of think of as like suicide horror. It's like cousins with the like addiction horror that I'm not hot on either. Like I just don't like it when they like try to like saddle it with something real serious and like bleak to be like, to make it heavy. Like it's not, it's gonna be like saying something. It's not just gonna be a slasher, just gonna be the like, I don't know. I just don't know that it really earned a lot of what it was trying to go for with the message either. It fell pretty flat for me.
Do you have any other subgenres of horror you want to
Oh God, how much time do you have?
Just kidding, I'm kidding. No, I totally agree. Eric in the email thread made a lot of good points about the provenance of this movie, which
Thanks,
I
John.
won't even get into. I want to respond. So a couple of things. You all hit on the sort of like scares and the way they function. This movie, to me, like one of the things, so I should say I hated it. I should have started with I hated it. But it is a prototypical example of the movie where you don't know what's happening in the person's head versus what's happening in real life. And so it actually undermines all of the tension. Like the whole point about, these smile characters show up, they threaten her, and then they disappear. Like, okay, so like, who gives a shit? Like, what is actually going to kill her at the end of the day?
Right. So then for me, and this is one of my favorite least subgenres, but for least favorite subgenres for a different reason, it's where the tension I think then comes from is other characters not believing her.
Yes, I don't like that either.
Which isn't scary. That isn't scary. I mean,
and so this actually plays into, she doesn't have oh God, you don't really care that much about this main character, right?
Right.
Like,
but John, she works so much. Did you notice how much she works?
I do love someone who works
a lot about her job.
Yeah, that look, as someone who works a lot, I take that personally. But she, I don't know if she's a good actress or not. I have no opinion on that. I just think the writing is pretty horrendous, and so she did not have a lot to work with. This woman Sosie is asked to carry an astronomical amount of this film with just like her facial movements.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are a lot of close-ups of her face in this movie. I mean, it's crazy. She doesn't have so we talked about the fiance. He gives zero fucks about her. Literally the second their relationship gets like one smidgen difficult, he's just like, yo, I think you got to move out, maybe. And so she immediately starts going back to the cop who, as Eric pointed out, is presented super creepy. But when you actually get into their relationship, he's like the best person she's ever been involved with.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, Kyle Gallner's performance by far head and shoulders the best.
Yeah, I think he's pretty
good.
Yeah.
What is he other than just like super nice?
I'm gonna be real though. I don't buy him as a cop. It's like casting me as a cop. Like it just doesn't work. Yeah. You look 12.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like this movie,
putting a little badge on his like pants doesn't do anything. Like that doesn't mean you're a cop.
It is such a fucking mess. And like, I'm coming at it mostly from the like mechanics of what they're even trying to do, the mechanics of the narrative and the plot, the actual filmmaking and sort of the studio-ish elements. Like I don't know. I went from being like, whatever, okay, to just like actually offended. I will say there are a couple of shots / like setups that are like legit creepy, like / like crazy. There's a lot of like people ripping their own faces off.
Yeah.
Which in another film I'd be like, oh, nice,
cool,
nice face rip situation. Yeah. It feels unearned. Like it feels like they're just like, hey, let's just like throw some face
John. Like they could have done anything. They could have literally brought a dragging out tap dancing on somebody's fucking carcass, and I would have just been like, I mean, like, okay.
All right.
Like,
so
you
the last act makes no fucking sense.
If you don't earn it, it just doesn't. Yeah.
I will.
So, all right.
I will say a few positive things about this movie.
Go ahead.
And then I'm going to say a bunch of negative things, but we'll get the positive things out there first. I think the jump scares in this movie are really good. I will just say that. Like, I think that The movie made me jump several times. The smiling freaks me out. I'm just gonna say it. Like it is.
We didn't even talk about that. If the smile doesn't scare you, bye. Like
it is.
That's it.
It is. Let me.
Concept horror film, right? Like they started with.
It also has a one trick. That,
smiles are creepy.
Let me keep going. Let me keep going.
Like, that's
Let me keep going.
So,
it is fully a gimmick. For me, it works. Like I had actually forgotten about that sister head swing thing from the trailer. That's fucking great. Like I'm sorry, whatever animator or special effects guy, whatever animator or special effects guy came up with that, high five, because that was cool. And it
got me in the trailer. It really did.
It's about the way they frame the shot, because it's framed from our character's point of view, who's in the car. So when a person walks up to your door, you're looking at their waist, right? So you're expecting them to bend down. It's sort of playing with your like visual expectations. I thought it was great, and I jumped like an idiot. And I've seen the trailer before, so like it worked for me. I thought the smiling was super creepy. Pretty much anytime somebody stopped and smiled at her, like it creeped me out. Like it made me feel creepy. So there's like a core here of this movie that I think could have worked as a gimmicky horror movie, like a Lights Out. So like when I invoke Lights Out, that's an example for me. It's like a short film based on basically like a visual gimmick that they made into a movie. It's not amazing, but they kept it tight, and it's just all about that gimmick in every way they could possibly imagine, right? And I think
want to say that invoking Lights Out is very close to using insalubrious.
But I disagree. Everyone knows the word invoking. It's a pre-show discussion for you. So where this, I think, veers away from that is that here's what it feels like. I think this was the analogy I used over email. It feels like somebody took a bunch of indie, like, quote unquote, elevated horror scripts about grief, ground them up and stuffed them inside of like a studio sausage casing. So like shaved all the edges off, made it this nice, clean, round, like safe thing. And that's not always a bad thing. I mean, I can get into a studio horror film again if it knows what it is and it does it well. The problem with this is
we have celebrated studio horror films.
Of course.
Like I'm not worried.
This is an hour and 55 minutes long, and no bullshit. An hour of it is her investigating what's happening to her, which is the thing I care about the least. Make the thing happen to you. There is one scene, where
was anybody surprised? Was it like this like revelation?
There's no drama. There's no.
Okay.
Because that's the point, is it doesn't really matter. I mean, like it does insofar as that's how these movies work. You got to figure it out to try to like, subvert it or whatever. But the research is just not very interesting. Like if you think about The Ring,
there's a real horrific short film.
There's a real mystery. There's a real
freaky.
There's a real mystery at the core of The Ring. And you're almost getting like a travelogue with Naomi Watts, where she's like really traveling around to these different places sort of from the video. There's there's an interesting thing that she's unraveling there. Here it's like pretty obvious, right? Like she finds out at one point that somebody subverted the pattern. He didn't die. And
he killed a bunch of people.
Well, right. But so before we even meet him, we know that he killed someone.
Yeah.
So as the audience, the biggest idiot in the world, me, who doesn't pay attention, I'm like, oh, okay, so she just got to kill somebody. Done. It's 45 minutes more of investigating. She goes to see him. She interviews him. He legit, it's really the only real like info dump in the movie. He gives her to her straight. He's like, you don't get like an origin, but he's like, I realized I had to kill somebody, whatever. He kills somebody. So now we know everything. She knows everything. The next scene cuts to her, and she's like Charlie Day style over a table filled with photos and research, being like, oh, I just can't figure it out. I'm like, motherfucker, you just had it explained to you. I was there watching.
The whole thing was explained.
That's the point at which I realized that this movie didn't know what to do after she figured it out. But I do. It's an hour and 55 minutes. Wrap this shit up. Let's see some more weird freaky head people and like get a move on. So it rolls into the third act, and this is the point at which it becomes just so heavy-handed with the grief stuff. And like that is grief is definitely the main ingredient on the menu of like prestige horror the last couple of 5 years or so.
In this case, it's trauma.
Trauma, yes, you're right. Trauma. But, and, you know, we watched a lot of those movies, and frankly, we've watched some of the ones that are so far up their own butts. It's like, even on the other far end of the spectrum, it's like, I can't do this. Me, anyway. But
I'll take that other end.
It's just, listen, it's just, it is all of that stuff so watered down. So, like, to me, it either feels like somebody at some point, whatever, it just feels like a studio horror film in all the worst ways. Like, but it, which I would be okay with if it sort of accepted who it was and ran with that. But instead, it's going for this more high-minded thing that it's not achieving, and then it's taking away from really the scary gimmick thing, which is what the whole thing should be about.
So that the last act, to me, it's almost nonsensical. They set up this.
I did enjoy the visuals in the last act.
Well, look, the visuals across the board. I mean, I was already praising the face ripping off, which was nonsensical in its own way. They set up early in the film that what's her name, Rose's main trauma. So like, she's exposed to this woman killing herself, and that's all that really you need to be smiled. Like, you are now part of the smile chain. Because, well, but like, that's all it is. Like, you saw someone kill themselves. But she also, in her background, has this very traumatic childhood where I mean, should we lay down spoiler? Like, basically, what is set up is that she sees her mother kill herself / like die.
Like OD.
She ODs. I mean, it is complicated later in the film, and that's where like the question of grief versus trauma comes in. But like, it actually doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't. Yeah. For purposes of the smile mechanic,
right? Like, to me, I felt like there was a link missing in the mythos, because that surely had to be connected somehow to the larger.
It doesn't matter at all.
There was a throwaway line from the monster. Once we get into the house, we see the whole monster version of the smile monster thing as Rose is dealing with it, and there's a throwaway line where the monster says something to her about, your mind is so open or so primed, or there's so much for me to grab hold of, or something like that. That's how they tried to explain that up, and it was a one-liner, and it would have been easy to miss. I just happened to be tuned in at that point.
Yeah. All right. I mean, okay. So here's my biggest issue, though,
I gotta say, John,
full spoiler.
John, I haven't seen you this fired up in a while. I'm enjoying it.
I mean, I could just be a little, randy tonight.
Oh, that's right. You're drunk. I forgot.
No. Well, but like, where I was really fired up about this movie either way, though. Where I was going is like, okay, so you've got the mom stuff, you've got the smile mechanics. She solves the puzzle, right? Like, the solution to the guy that she goes and talks to, the guy that she goes and talks to is like, oh, you got to kill someone, and then you don't have to kill yourself. And that's how you can pass it, by like traumatizing someone by being a murderer as opposed to murder. She's like, well, what if she has this moment of like, well, I just need to be by myself, and then there's no one to pass it to. But she can't go through with it. Like, just swallow a fucking gun, or just like, she has to kill herself. Like, there's no, like,
I disagree. You know what?
Not a happy ending.
I disagree. I think this movie really missed the mark by not having a scene where like a madcap, like think Halloween Kills, where they're running around the hospital, right? Like a madcap scene where she sets up this elaborate thing and kills somebody, but due to like some zany hijinks, the person doesn't see it.
Oh,
like, I want to see her kill like 3 to 4 people and just screw up the witness part. That's what I want.
Dude, we're getting a smile too, just to be clear. And like, they might as well take that advice. Like, that's no, like, it's too easy of a solve. Like, it is like literally somebody, whether it's her.
It's just strange to set it up like there's a twist or something to figure out, when it's just like, nope, you got it. The thing that happened is what happens. Yeah.
Well, because like, why are all these people killing themselves in front of other people? Like, it
just kill yourself by yourself.
No, the whole mechanic doesn't make sense.
I don't understand. I don't know.
Granted, so a lot of the overhype was on myself from what I did see of the
wait a second. I'm sorry.
trailers and stuff.
I'm sorry, Casey. Right. Because whether you kill yourself alone or kill
You're
yourself
dead.
in front of a person, you're dead. That didn't even fucking occur to me.
Yes. Wait,
Yeah.
wait. In the middle of the movie, do you remember when you were like, why doesn't she? Okay, this makes sense when we were talking. Because I was like, well, why doesn't she just go by herself somewhere? And like,
Well, and she even figures it out. That's what's annoying
Yeah.
to me about the end of the film. She figures it out. And then, look, like Kyle Gallner shows up, whatever. Just run away from him and kill yourself at that point. Like,
Mhm.
you're gonna, it's,
right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
it makes no
Or like
sense.
what I would do is like spitefully give it to somebody I just don't like.
Or
Right.
just
Well, this is
disappear.
the It Follows conversation
Right,
that
right,
everyone
right.
had after they saw that movie. Like, who would you do
Yeah.
Right.
this to?
See, what I was starting to say though is a lot of the expectations I had in this movie were built up myself from what I did see of the marketing. I didn't watch the trailer a lot, but I got into, like I said, I got into that viral marketing and whatnot. I was expecting a whole different movie coming out of that, like especially us coming out of a pandemic. And if you think of this movie, you're like, if you're going in blind, hoping that this movie is something like some weird pandemic that's giving these people Joker smiles, making them kill each other, and it's causing chaos and stuff like that, it's like, oh, that's a exciting movie. So once you get in there, and it's just a chain letter movie, it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wanted. You're right. I
it
wanted
was-
like the crazies or like.
It was mostly
Something.
what
Yeah.
it was mostly what I expected, but just way more. I wanted more of what works. Like I wanted
Here's
just
the mind fuck for me. On 2 nights, I watched this, and then the next night, Don't Worry, Darling, and I just knew what I was going to think of both of those movies going in. But y'all, I did not, because I was listening to the internet and other people, and I was very surprised. Like in both cases, my expectations being what they were helped or hurt the movie. You know what I mean? Like it just, you don't ever know. You just gotta see it.
You all referenced the trailer on this. This is one of those examples of like the trailer shows you the entire movie. If you've seen
I wish
the trailer,
I hadn't
you've
seen the
the
trailer. I try
Like,
not to, but
Yeah, you don't need to see the movie.
So I will.
They
Okay.
even show you the sister head swing.
Yes.
I will say one more. I will say one more like devil's advocate type thing, which is that I think this movie potentially plays way better with an audience because there
You
are
probably are
some
right about
there
that.
are some real
Sure.
silly gotcha scares, and like
Yeah.
the watching other people react to that stuff can make something like this a lot more
like
interesting.
if I had seen this in a crowd pre-pandemic on a Halloween sort of
Like,
movie,
I do
adventure,
I do
like,
to some
I
degree
can see
I do to some degree understand the buzz that this got coming off a theatrical run. I think a lot of those people I'm sure saw it in the theater.
yeah.
Can I ask, Eric?
Well,
do you
Go
think
ahead,
it needed to be 155 or 115 minutes long?
It's an hour 55.
Sorry, that was just
Yeah.
that's a layup for you.
It's an hour.
Well, it's an hour
and
55. Yeah, yeah.
55. Like why?
we've had this conversation a lot, even this year over other movies, but I think this is another case where I think it may be an okay movie for normies,
Well, that's what
that are getting
that's what
into
I said,
horror
like,
movies.
Here's the perfect audience. You aren't like you're a normie. You're not.
You've never
us,
seen It
and
Follows.
You've never seen It Follows, and maybe never seen The
Yeah.
Ring. Like, so that's probably like young horror fans now. I
Yeah,
mean, they're probably
if you just
like,
want to get out and get out of the
But
house and
it's
go to a
worth-
movie.
I mean,
and
it's-
we're like,
It's worth noting though, doesn't
blown.
it is worth noting just mentioning young horror fans. I wouldn't call it starter horror because it is pretty violent.
No, it's. I wouldn't say starter
Yeah,
horror
It's
at all.
super grim. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of gruesome stuff that happens.
It's no prom night, you guys.
I do like visual wise, I love that monster at the end. That big dumb looking
Yeah, I
mom
was
thing was pretty
kind
good.
of
The
a fan
mom,
of it, too,
Yeah.
the like giant mom.
And
thing.
I sort of liked the rope-a-dope where you think she's out and she's in Kyle Gallner's apartment and then she's sort of sucked back in. Like, I don't know. In
I
a better
kinda
movie,
expected that, especially since
better-
the movie kept going.
in a better movie, I think that twist works pretty
I
well.
just think I felt I was so angry after that was like the third or fourth scene where what is happening is not actually happening.
Well, it's a lot.
I fucking
yeah.
hate that stuff. Like you can do that once in a movie or maybe twice. Like this movie, that's half the scares. It's half
Well-
of the grim scenes are happening in her head, and it's just like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
My
I know,
biggest-
like,
my-
listen to her talk about
gruesome
her
happened, I'd be like,
dream,
My
like,
biggest
whatever.
my biggest pet peeve in horror one of them is movies where our main character knows a thing and no one else believes them and they think they're crazy for it. Like, one of the only instances I can think of where it works in modern times is The Invisible Man, because a lot of times it's just used as a stall tactic, and that's what it's used in this movie. They don't know what to do with the second act, so they stall out the film by just having her look crazy and everybody thinks she's crazy. I think where it really works is where you like really commit to it all the way. Like in Invisible Man, like Elizabeth Moss's whole life gets torn down. In Candyman, right? Like Helen ends up in a mental hospital, like charged with murder. It's the only way that works when you really make it the whole plot. Whereas here, it's just so obviously stalling to get to the third act. Yeah. I just don't think it. One of my favorite things in movies, conversely, is when you think they're setting you up for that kind of plot, and then surprise, the killer jumps in a room and everybody sees them at the same time, and you're like, oh, thank God! Now, like, everybody knows. Now we can just have a horror movie, and I almost feel like that's a nod sometimes to like fans to be like, never mind, it's crazy, you know, like that's what I like, John.
Yeah, it's a good point though, like what you're talking about, and a large problem that they padded this movie out with those moments. And with her, you know, with the other people saying, oh, she's just crazy or whatever, they don't do anything to build that to make it shocking that these people are starting to think that she's gone nuts or something like that. They just kind of say it.
Yeah.
Everybody that's in her life outside of Kyle Garner that we are supposed to see as she is connected to, and part of her life is all superficial. It's all on the surface. Her sister's just a kind of a raging bitch to her. We've seen what happened with her fiance. He ghosted her. You know, there's no value there whatsoever. The brother-in-law was barely existent. You know, there was nothing in that to give us that building of her character, that her going crazy, that they might think that she's gone crazy, except for just to mention that their mom was crazy.
Well, also, and to
like
John's,
Penn, like her boss has to be a character because like there's no one else in the movie.
Yeah.
To John's point though, too, like Invisible Man works because when the Invisible Man catches up with her, he beats the shit out of her. Like in this movie, it's just like and then we're just away, and it's, you know, so there is no corporeal threat, really. It's just the threat to yourself.
Or is there?
Well,
figure it out.
Well, you know she's gonna kill herself at some point, right? Like that's basically explained to you because that's what being part of the smile chain is. And so then it's just like sitting around waiting and being like,
how does this movie end? I don't even remember.
Gonna get her to kill herself.
Does she pass it on to Kyle Gallner?
Yeah, to Kyle Gallner.
Yeah.
It's not cool. All that stuff he did for you.
No, exactly.
Exactly.
Like,
that was my point at the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
She passed it on to him, whereas instead of her fiance that ghosted her, it's like, fuck
or
off,
killing herself in a closet.
Wouldn't you just like look up?
Like,
wouldn't you just like look up your grade school bully on Facebook and show up
at
their door and they answer the door and you're just
still a better choice than Kyle Garner.
Casey, I love you. It's Kyle Gallner with L's.
Gallner. I'm sorry.
I can't hear you say it again.
Sorry, I was gonna let you run with it. So. But that's
just like his little goatee. That's all.
He always has that little goatee in every role. It's like his signature.
Exactly.
He's from Southeast PA, so I know he's good. The scene where the house catches on fire, I thought that was going to be the end of the movie. I was like, well, you know, this is sad. Like she's dying, but she beat it. Because like she's like reconciled with her past, and she's taking down the smile demon, and then it's like, nah, she's not, because that was just in her head. Like every other scene in this goddamn movie is just like she didn't even know, and we didn't know what was reality, and it's just no way.
One scene I did
no
like
way to make a movie.
I did like the scene where the therapist is at the house, because I dig that thing where like the phone rings and it's the person who's sitting in front of you,
and you're like,
but they do it like they do that same trick like 3 times, so it kind of wears out after a while.
Man, now I'm just like,
and the fake therapist, doesn't the fake therapist like actually attack her?
Yes,
Yeah.
What is the demon? Like, what can the demon do versus not do?
John, I can't get into this with you because it'll make my blood pressure. Like, I nearly lost sleep trying to unravel. Like, I was like, this is not that complicated, and thought about it and was like, am I stupid, or like, is the movie done? I'm just.
Do you think it's
Like,
a former dentist that really wants people to focus on their oral hygiene, and that's why the smiles? Is this a sequel to the dent? Is this a sequel to The Dentist starring Corbin Burnson?
If you're going to have any type of setup where it's like, it's a curse or it's past or it's like, that entails a fully fleshed out sort of like mythos. Like, you've got to understand the rules of your own
which
game.
they don't get to, and they don't uncover in the movie.
But
what is
you
the therapist
have
going to do to her?
And don't tell me it's going to come in the second movie.
I didn't write this movie.
When the therapist shows up at her house, which is a scene you are praising, and I agree that like the mechanics of that scene, the shot of the therapist stepping over the couch,
and then she gets big.
Really
good.
Pretty
good.
Yeah. Here's the thing: what is the therapist going to do? If you're that woman, you're Sosie Rose, you pick up the phone. The therapist is on the phone. Oh, I wanted to whatever, blah blah blah. You should like get up and like try to kiss the fucking ghost. Like what?
Well,
what is that
okay, John.
do?
Okay,
Like,
to be fair though, right? Like, to be fair, these are basically what you're having because it's referenced like that her mom might have been schizophrenic or something. Like, I mean, those hallucinations feel real. Like, sure, they're not, but like, have you ever hallucinated, John? I'm guessing not.
Wow.
At the same time, though, she's
substance induced, or
I see John's point because at the same time they've been explaining the rules to this thing out loud throughout the movie, and she's been researching it throughout the entire time. So she should know at that point once she realized the therapist is on the phone that creature's not going to hurt her because it wants her to pass it on to another person. So she knows she's safe.
There's no one else in the house. If she died right then, the demon loses. Like, this is what I don't understand.
So, the demon would have killed itself from getting her to fall backwards down the stairs and breaking her neck or something.
Yeah.
Oh.
Guys.
Okay, now I'm with Elizabeth. My blood pressure's going up.
I'm going to go insane if we keep talking about the plot of this movie. You can keep going. I'm just letting you know. I'm going to smile myself.
It's real dumb.
You know, a movie that did this well was Oculus. Okay, that was a good movie. That was about
Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
That was about generational trauma, and it worked. And Flanagan's amazing. And I wish we were talking about that movie.
Yeah, no, totally. Mm-hmm. There's lots of versions of this that
I know they just keep occurring to me.
Yeah, like
what?
The It Follows and The Ring are sort of like structurally closer. But there's tons of movies, like as Eric was saying, like trauma, if anything, it's like overdone right now. And like, this is like one of the dumber versions of it. It's been, I mean, it's Eric. I wanted to let you give the example, but like your metaphor or
my sausage
whatever.
metaphor.
Yeah. Of like grabbing a bunch of random shit and then smoothing out all the edges. But what you end up with is something that is fucking nonsensical. Yeah. And, you know, it's scary. Like, there are scary moments. You're right. The jump scares work. But, like, if you are a movie that's trying to do jump scares and the jump scares don't work, like,
then, I mean, right. They're already pretty
pack it in.
Self-explanatory. And you can do it if you're making a movie. Like,
and let's be honest, the smile gimmick on this kind of really soft ruins the blow for anything that they're trying to accomplish in here because you always know where it's at.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Well, I like the smile. I like the reveal of the smile. I'm gonna go to bat for the smile.
The smile itself's fine, but I don't think the gimmick helps what they're trying to do story.
I like when the character just slow like it because it's a slow turn. It's like and it's like it's the smile.
Did they do this in a movie before? Wasn't it the one with Lucy Hale, Truth or Dare or something? Wasn't there one that was
oh.
I know what you're talking about. But
I think you're right. Actually.
There was one where that was like a thing.
No, I think you're right. I think it is Truth or Dare.
Because this wasn't the first time I've seen the smile.
No, it's like back to the studio sausage nonsense. Like, it's a really well marketed film. Like, they marketed the hell out of the ads around New York City, the red poster with the smile. Like, they're great.
They did the thing really too where posters. They had actors at baseball games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was good. Yeah.
That's fucking brilliant. That's really good.
That's good.
It was great. Yeah. And they even got into like perfect places to make sure they got on TV and stuff. Because there's one in the seats behind home plate. That's the one that stood out to me.
I mean, someone did their job well in market. Like somebody that was good, you know. But I don't know that it has very much to do with
like back to this, like what caused them to like take this from Paramount Plus to fucking try and put in theaters. I do think
it was
to
clearly
their
a
credit,
good call.
Yeah, no, super smart. They made a shitload of money, and like they saw it and they were like, oh, there are a shitload of marketing hooks. Horror works in theaters.
I think if you're
one of the only things working in theaters.
If you're the kind of person who's like, man, I like a good romp on Halloween. It's like the one horror movie I go to a year, and you see that poster, I think your brain clicks and is like, that's the one I want to see because it looks like a gimmicky horror movie, and that stuff can be a lot of fun.
And I think even outside of like a festival screening and stuff, like you were talking earlier, seeing it in a crowd, even seeing it in the full movie theater on a Friday night with a bunch of normies would probably be pretty fun. Just because you could tell people are going to react to this.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Guys, we got to wrap this conversation up. It's killing me inside slowly. We started early, so I have no idea how long we've been going, but here we are. But would you recommend this movie, Casey?
Yes, it's watchable.
Elizabeth?
No, I wouldn't.
John?
No.
I'm also a no.
I was worried Elizabeth was going to recommend it, so
I refuse to recommend hour and 55-minute horror movies, so no.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm just saying it's watchable is all I'm saying.
I'm a man of...
Like there is like...
We did it.
I'm a man...
There
Listen.
are pictures that happen one after another. And
Listen, John, you know
like
what
I said, I've never done that.
John, you know what I watched today?
I haven't made a movie.
What's that?
Today, John, I watched Jason Takes Manhattan, okay?
A fine film.
In an hour and 40 minutes, Jason, who notoriously does not run, made it all the way from Camp Crystal Lake to New York City and had a whole adventure in between. If he can do that in an hour and 40 minutes, surely Smile can bring it across the finish line in less time.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be like, haha, it's such a bit with Eric and like the runtime. It's so fucking true. Like, there are so few films that earn anything longer than a 90-minute runtime.
Yeah.
And like, it's just true. Like,
I'm telling you, it's all the fault of streaming. And it is a pox on the horror genre right now.
Well, because the minute they start going over that, I'm like, okay, well, this could have been like a limited series if we're doing this. Like, I mean, can I get a pee break? Like, this has gone on for a minute. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, that's fair though, because like at this point, especially with streaming, if it's not something we're watching for the show, if I get to a point where I think to myself, I'm going to stop it now and come back tomorrow, it's too long. I'm not going to come back.
I
don't like when that happens. Here's what I like when it happens. When you start something and you're like, oh, I hope this isn't like, I'm going to watch some tomorrow. And then it's over because it was good. And you're like, oh, that was good.
I'm still annoyed by Terrifier being 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, that was too long.
Like, what do you think? You're fucking Scorsese, dude? Like, I like the clown, but let's wrap it up here.
I do love
think you
that.
recommended it if we go back.
I have clients who saw that movie in the theater. Yeah. And I'm like, tell me everything about what that was like. Like, just being like, this person you are seeing that movie.
Who had never seen
go see a scary movie.
Who had never seen the first one.
Who hadn't seen the first one.
Oh my God.
What was the review?
Right? Yes. Like, so I work in a salon in a suburb of Memphis that's like very wealthy, very white. Very surprising that anybody would sit down and be like, so I saw Terrifier 2 this weekend. I know you like the scary movies because of your tattoos and whatnot. No, like I was just like, and what did you think? Like totally like polo normal young man with, you're like a hair farmer with this. It's like, yeah, that was like real intense. Yeah. Like salt and bleach intense.
Oh my God, the salt and the bleach. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Good times. All right. Anyway. Well, 3 thumbs down, 1 thumb up from BGH on Smile. I'm curious to see, I mean, we got so many people. I've heard so many people who like this. I'm curious to see if this review surprises people. So hit us up and let us know. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Silent night, deadly night. the most talked about film of the decade. The movie that shocked America, outraged Hollywood, and frightened the government. The movie they tried to ban. You've read about it. You've heard about it. Now you can see it in all its terrifying horror. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
This is Jason Mewes, and you're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com. Yes.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
Speaking of Jason Mewes, John, I watched Clerks 3 this weekend.
It really bothers me the way he says yes at the end of like, it is always so creepy to me.
Yes. I'm a big Clerks fan. When I saw the first Clerks, I actually saw the first Clerks in my high school film class, my senior year of college. My teacher showed it to us, which is
In
real
high school?
Yeah, which is real
What
bold.
a cool teacher.
Yeah, like I was literally just listening to that bumper thinking like, man, I want to find her and be like, you were fucking cool. You would never get away with that now. Like,
Can you
I had a
imagine
teacher
all
that
the
showed us.
like I can
all the
remember her.
15-year-olds?
I can.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I was gonna say, imagine all the 15-year-olds here. $15, little man. Put that money in my hand.
Or like talking about sucking 36 dicks. Like, like I remember her shutting the door, so which makes sense, But
Sorry, Elizabeth. I didn't mean to cut
No,
you off.
you're
what were you gonna say?
Oh, that was just reminding me of my teacher that I didn't smoke with one of them, but we watched Roger and Me. Like it was a Crimes Against Humanity class was what it was called. I was just like, okay. And it was always that kind of thing where he would like close the door and be like, you don't necessarily have to tell anybody that like we watched this in here. But
I saw Roger and Me in school in like 7th grade.
Well, you're from a very different land than I. It was
your teacher was like, here's
school.
some logical thinking. Don't tell anybody, your parents. I showed
basically, and then he had that job for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Both of your teachers sound like Paul Rudd in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
No. I wish they were that handsome. But anyway, I'm a huge Clerks fan, very nostalgic. I love Clerks 2. Clerks 2, 2006, it came out way better than it had any right to be. I'm still like undecided on this one. I miss film so much. Like if ever there's a movie that needs the grain of film, it's a fucking Clerks movie. So to feel it shot in this cheap ass like Peacock original digital or whatever the hell it is, like it just feels so cheap.
Is it on Peacock?
I don't know. I'm just making that up. I just mean like, it feels like a streaming show in 2022, which just to me takes so much of the atmosphere out of it. I'm like, dude, I miss film so much. I've been thinking about this lately. Like I watched The Mist lately. My God, that movie looks so, and the CG sucks, whatever, it still sucks. But just the atmosphere that you get from shooting a movie on film, everything just feels like a soap opera now. It's just, I don't know. It's really bizarre. This is my new thing, my new crusade. But
you started at Clerks 3 and you ended up at The Mist.
So, to be fair, Eric's fired up though, because there's a pretty big conversation in Slack today about physical media.
Yeah.
4K Blu-rays.
It feels cheap. Clerks 3, I don't know. I guess it does have that heart, but I'm not sure it comes together. Like I'm conflicted.
You know what I watched this week? Mad Max Fury Road. Which I hadn't watched in maybe since the theater. Talk about fucking just epic.
Right?
Yeah. Cinema.
It's so good.
I was super surprised at how, like, I mean, I expected that to be good, but
that was like my self-medicating this week. I was like, God, you know what? I'm putting on fucking Mad Max.
I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it since the theater. Whenever I think of that movie, I get one image, and it's like the dude with the guitar that was on the pole that was going back and forth, right? Wasn't it like swinging back and forth?
Well,
he's the attack dudes are like swinging back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Like
the guitar dude had bungee straps.
Shit's wild.
It might be one of my favorite movies of all time. I've been revising my personal list.
John, are you pumped about Avatar 2, Way of the Water?
So did I talk about how I took James, my 8-year-old, to Avatar 1, and we saw it in IMAX 3D when they did the re-release like a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm. No, you did not.
I mean, I think I sat in the exact same theater the exact same seat that I sat in when I saw it the first time. So wow. New York only has one real IMAX screen, I'm talking like the huge, it's like 30-foot tall IMAX screen. Like, it's just crazy. The movie's fucking great. The first Avatar movie, I don't care what anyone has to say. It's an awesome movie.
We were just talking
I don't know.
I had such a good time. I mean, look, is it
long?
John, yeah, it's fucking long.
Serious question, though.
It's really good.
Serious question. Do you think you feel the same way if you sit there and watch it not in 3D? Because I'm not so sure.
Right, like, can I just watch this movie in the house
on your laptop?
This is not just Ferngully, because I've heard otherwise.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I agree. The spectacle was pretty cool when I saw it, but I've never once been compelled to like go back and watch it at home.
Yeah, no, and I've never watched it. And I saw they just put it back on Disney Plus because they took it off Disney Plus when they did the re-release, and it's. I've
also been seeing a lot of James Cameron talking on Twitter, and that makes me want to never watch any of his movies because he is such a douche.
But what'd your 8-year-old think, Schnars?
I mean, it's like his favorite movie he's ever seen.
Oh, that's so cute.
I mean, I cannot imagine, dude. I cannot imagine.
I mean, that would be amazing.
I cannot imagine at a young age
it's
going.
also really violent. Like, there's lots of killing in that movie.
Like, but at a young age, going to see a 3D IMAX movie, like that shit's coming at you. Like, that's the best. It's the best 3D I've ever seen.
We were lucky and loving it, and we were at the drive-in seeing Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. Like, very different experience. Getting eat to hell with mosquitoes and
We showed our kids for the first time Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like the first one.
I love that movie.
Which I saw at a drive-in the first time I ever saw it.
Oh, that would be a good,
fucking 89 or whatever. And
I love the practical. Did they? Does it hold up? I haven't seen it in ages. But
It's
dude,
really
I fucking loved that movie.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay, that's a good pick. I might have to bust that one out with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good classic.
But Avatar, I'm very interested in this new one, but I'm only going to go. I'm waiting a couple weeks, and then I'm going to go in IMAX.
I don't think I'm going to go. Unless everybody comes out of it and they're like, guys, it's so much better. Like, I don't think I'm going.
It's not that it's going to be better. Dude, James Cameron's hit rate.
I'll just go to this because I did never see Avatar.
He bats 1,000. James Cameron has never made a bad movie. Like, there's just no way it's going to be bad.
Is Sigourney Weaver in this one?
Amazing, but
Is Sigourney Weaver in this one?
No, didn't she die? She dies in the first one.
I saw it once, like 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, she's dead.
It's
sorry.
I always feel bad. Like when I hear Avatar, it's like I feel bad for the actors because they just did a thing. I mean, they were in the biggest box office thing of all time, but it's like these sequels have basically just sucked their life away. Like, when was the last time you saw Zoe Saldana or like this other dude that was the guy who was the main character was supposed to be a big thing when that movie came out? And it's like, nope, sorry, you're gonna
be doing this for.
You're gonna be in this green you're gonna be in this ping pong ball green screen suit for the next 20 years of your life, and then you're gonna die, and that's it.
I think Sam Worthington. I think the Martian Chronicles hurt him more than Avatar ever did.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if anything, Avatar is the only thing he's ever done. It's like,
but if you think about like, it's like, you know, even the Marvel people, they get sucked up in the shit for so long. Eventually, they're like, I need a break, bro. Like, but these people, man, these are just they're in Avatar until they're dead.
Eric,
basically.
I think you forget that these are mostly people who have like been working really, really hard for a long, long time, made good money, and then all of a sudden they make like crazy, crazy money, and it's like, guess what? Sounds great.
I still think they're stuck in James Cameron prison.
I don't know. I think everybody would sign up for that prison if.
I mean, he didn't lock him up like completely. Zoe Saldana is like a huge MCU character now.
Yeah, she's done tons of stuff.
I don't. That's not a thing to me, so I wasn't aware.
Yeah, she's a huge part of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's right. That's right. She's in Guardians. I got you.
Yeah.
Love it. You know what's coming up soon, John? The Year Ender.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Smile.
Guys, we have so much
list.
stuff we haven't seen now. I'm worried we're getting.
We've been talking for 2 months about how we didn't have enough shit to see. Now we're like,
I know.
Well, there's a couple of things that like we're down to the last 3-4 weeks, and there's definitely I think there's 3 to 4 weeks worth of films to watch for sure.
Well, this week we're doing the menu.
Yep, which I saw today.
Which we're hearing good things about. What else is on your list?
I think we got to see Bones and All. Well, I saw the trailer. I saw the trailer in front of the menu, which was the first time I'd read about it, and then I saw the trailer. This is the one, Eric, we were talking about. It's done by the guy who did.
Call Me Back.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking it's the Suspiria remake.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I like that. I just watched that movie recently.
We were talking.
Yeah, we just talked about it last week.
Go down.
It's the trailer is really fucking good. I'm
listen,
like nervous now.
I rewatched Suspiria recently. Was like, this might be one of the best horror movies ever made.
Good.
Like this remake
really
is so
good.
goddamn good.
Yeah. That's what you said last week, was that you actually thought it might be better than the original.
It's absolutely, to me, better than the original Suspiria. Like no contest.
That's
maybe not Inferno, because Inferno has a guy with a mustache that I really like, but definitely better than Suspiria.
No, I'll go. We got a bunch of stuff on the list. We got to just figure out where we're going to be able to get to.
All right.
We'll go from there.
We got one email this week, info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Quick shout out to our patrons. Got a couple new people in the fold recently, helping support the show, keeping us alive in 2022. If you head over to patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror, you could get a live stream of the show. You could watch the pre-show and find out why I'm so mad about the word insalubrious. And, lots of other fun stuff. You get back episodes of the show. John, you got, anybody got their podcatcher open? John, you have the Patreon feed. Oh, no, wait, I have my phone now. I didn't have my phone before. Oh,
I got it.
Who's going to get there first?
Oh, stand by.
Melancholia is the answer we're looking for. This week on the BGH Patreon feed, Melancholia.
It's a really good movie.
Yep.
I haven't seen it since we reviewed it.
I love it. I've seen it multiple times. I actually have so that movie came out in 2008 or something, and I have just a rip that for some reason, fully torrented. For some reason, it was cut in 2 pieces. So I have 2 files that I play when I watch it, but I could probably get an updated version of that. I'm gonna guess. It's amazing. It's amazing though. I love that movie. Don't forget too, on that Patreon feed, the first episode of How Do You Horror. And that features Whitney is the host and Caitlin, where she quizzes Caitlin about Rosemary's Baby.
Mm-hmm.
So check that out. And I was I've been talking with about being on this with Whitney about being on this coming up here. So, and I told her to reach out to you guys. So yeah, Melancholy.
Okay.
Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. So you can get that feed at any level, and then on some of the levels you get access to a Google Drive that's just got everything in it, and you can just get in there and get real dirty with yourself and do whatever you want. Info@bloodygoodhorror.com. We got one email. John, guess who it's from?
Caitlin.
Yes, Caitlin Kissimmee. The subject just says explain ... and she links me to an IMDb movie with the title. Oh wait, I got it right here. Stand by. I had it up and then Phantom of the Mall: Eric's Revenge.
That's a good movie.
A man loses his home and suffers life-threatening burns from a fire deliberately set by commercial real estate developers vying for his property. 1 year later, a shopping mall opens on the land and a series of murders begin. Directed by Richard Friedman, also known for a bunch of stuff you have not heard of. So there you go. Anyway, I'm pretty into that. Actually, oh, that's not true. He did direct Billy Joel: The Essential Video Collection.
Good.
So there you go.
I've seen that one. I've seen not
celebrated.
the Billy Joel movie. I've seen the other one.
Eric's
the main
Revenge.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
pretty
just
good.
not a like cinematic name. I'll say that.
No.
Doesn't really work. Anyway, what's on Twitter, Casey?
All right, we got a couple tweets. Our Ask BGH hashtag. You ask us questions, we'll give you answers. First up, we have coming in from DC, Senator Chuck Grassley, parody. Again, I'm reading this in the way it was typed. That scene where the smile monster went into that girl's mouth like a reverse snake reminded me of last year when I did that to the turkey. My family wasn't smiling and neither was my butthole the next day. All were very sad, especially my butthole because of the bones.
Guys, I am gonna. Do we think that this may be CO Flanagan? Did COW? Did Elon
That's
Musk?
what it sounds
Did
like.
Elon Musk reinstate COW Flanagan on Twitter? Is that what happened?
Maybe. I mean, that's definitely CO Flanagan's
That's the vibe right
His
here.
MO.
flavor.
It's a little more literate than his stuff normally is. Though,
I
will say
know.
that.
Well, it's a senator now.
Yeah, he's a
He's
senator
mature.
now, so
Yeah.
takes some brain power. All right, next up, a longtime listener, longtime friend at Four Color Craig. Smile was goofy fun, but I'm a little surprised by how critically heralded it is. Was I the only one that felt like it was an asylum version of It Follows? Also surprised it received no pushback in this day and age for mercilessly exploiting mental health issues.
We got you.
That's
buddy.
a good point.
I mean, I actually don't have an opinion on mercilessly exploiting mental health issues, but the rest of what he said, I totally agree with. I'm
I
kidding.
like asylum version of It Follows.
Yeah.
Next up, we have at Miles on Film. The thing about watching so many horror movies is that it's easy to get desensitized and not find things scary in the traditional sense. Smile was the first film in a while to really get under my skin. What's the last film you saw to make you feel that way?
Oh gosh, I was just saying. I think it was Barbarian.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
And Pearl did that to me too.
Barbarian made my skin crawl, like the milk scene, the boob milk scene. Like,
Yeah.
no thanks.
Honestly, Fresh kind of made my skin crawl too.
Totally,
Yeah.
yes. That's another one
That might have been the
lest
last
we
one for me.
forget. Yeah, that was good.
All right. Next up, we have at Drake Dangerson 1, who I like his actual name that goes over the at on here. Oh, wow. It's Turkey Derek. Anyways, have you ever had an acquaintance, coworker, host at a restaurant, etc., that had a smile that made you uncomfortable? Not creepy, just unsettling. I can think of a couple.
Yeah.
There's a certain smile that comes across. It's like, oh, I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, someone from my. I do know somebody who tries to smile like a human, and it looks like very scary.
I just feel
Red
sad for
flag
those
number
people
one.
where I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then this person interacts with you, and you no longer feel sorry.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, they might not know how to interact with people. That's where you're like, oh boy. But yeah.
All
I don't
right.
have any. No one that comes to mind.
The last one we have comes from at Marcus UC26. Hi all, happy Thanksgiving. What's a horror movie each of you are thankful for?
Jason Takes Manhattan. If I'm being honest. It's not funny, John. He goes to New York City, John. It's actually Vancouver. Fun fact.
As I mentioned, I saw The Menu, which we'll talk about next week. I'm thankful for The Witch, and Anya Taylor-Joy just doing.
great.
She's just out there
That's
doing
good.
great work. It's she's a
good.
delight.
Nice.
Gosh, John. That answer was really good. You just stole my. I don't know what my answer is. What am I thankful for? I'm gonna say Promising Young Woman. I feel like that's it's a good one. And The Stylist. I feel very seen by that film. Horror and hair. I like it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Poltergeist because I still get just like the same thrill and excitement from watching it now as I did the first time when I was a kid.
Every time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for Twitter. What do we got on Instagram, Eric?
Let's check it out here. We got some good ones today. Wow, we got a lot of them. What the hell's going on? I'm just kidding. Do you think you'll do the menu? Defo got horror vibes. Yes, we will. You sound
We
like
will defo be doing the menu.
You sound like Schnars over here with the defo. Who has the scariest smile? My reply was with a gif of Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was also Tiny Tim was going to be my backup answer.
Tim Curry, I think, could fit in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, if there's people who are trying to smile scary, or back
Right,
to Elizabeth's
right.
point
What's
of
the
like,
question?
like Mark Zuckerberg might be in the category of people where you're like,
He's
"Oh,
trying.
Does
Like,
he know what
Yeah.
a normal smile looks like?
I don't think he does.
ooh, no, I got the answer. Ted Cruz looks like he's wearing a human suit.
Oh my god. Well, come on.
You know, I mean, you know what's funny? Like,
That's too easy.
I don't really think
I
lizard.
just thought of his smile and was scared.
Like, I don't really think lizard people are a thing. But when I really stare,
I do.
when I really stare,
Maybe it's all that Christopher Pike back in the day.
when I really stare at Mark Zuckerberg trying to act like a human, I swear to God, I
Yeah.
have moments where I'm like, oh fuck, this fucker is an alien, isn't he?
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
this is
Like
not
when
right.
they say they're here already, like this is what they
Yeah,
mean.
I know.
Yeah, you're waiting for him to look at the camera and like lick his eye.
Like
out.
heavy,
Yeah.
heavy They Live vibes.
Oh my.
God, They Live. That's another movie I'm thankful
I just
for.
watched it. I watched an old Monster
It's
Vision
so
episode.
My
So
dad
good,
watched
man.
that movie not too long ago and told me there are some movies I just don't know why they exist, and that is one of them. And I was like,
I'm
That's
sure I
that's
told
an
this
opinion.
story in the past, but like it was it's a Thanksgiving story, so it works out. This was pre-kids. My wife and I were at my parents' house for Thanksgiving. Me and my sisters were trying to pick a movie. My family likes horror movies, like they're pretty in for horror.
that's cool.
And I was like, you guys have never seen They Live. Like, we gotta watch this. My mom had a lot of wine and was laying on the couch. We're like 20 minutes into the movie. She just is like, what the fuck is this movie about? She literally was losing her mind. And then it's like, when someone says that, you're like, oh yeah, this movie is fucking wild. Like, it's really crazy. But she could not process it. She had
perfect.
drank that much.
I watched it on an old Monster Vision rip where Joe
Oh my God.
Bob interviewed Roddy Piper. It was pretty
Nice.
sweet.
God, just a treat.
Fun fact, and he was talking about like John Carpenter wanted him to go on. This is like from the interview. Wanted him to go basically to John Carpenter. The movie was about Reaganomics and basically like what Reagan had done to the country, right? And
Yeah.
he wanted Roddy Piper to go out and talk about that on the press junket. And Roddy Piper in the movie had no idea what it was about. Really. He didn't know that. And then when he found out about it, he's like, he says this in the interview. He's like, well, I don't know. I kind of like Mr. Reagan. And so he basically said he refused to do it. So like he did the press junket, but he wouldn't talk about any of the politics behind the movie.
What about did Keith David? I mean, I feel like he would have.
I don't know. He's not on it. He's not on it, but
No.
Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix. Thoughts?
Oh, I love that show.
What
Yeah,
what is
Casey
it?
was texting about
Can
it.
someone give me the elevator pitch on it?
It's an anthology show, and so each one's a different short, and it's all coming from people that Guillermo del Toro has pulled together, and there's different
Gotcha.
directors and whatnot. I find it very Lovecraft centric throughout most of the episodes.
Is it better than your average horror anthology show?
Oh yeah, I think so.
I want to see the Jennifer Kent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good one.
There's very good talent. Like the
Okay.
directors that he got to do these episodes, I haven't watched any of them, but I like kind of scanned through them and I was like, oh, these actually look pretty good.
I need
They're
s-
like an hour though. They're not like shorts. They're like
Right.
most of them
An
are.
hour's okay.
It's like
I don't know,
it's like Masters of Horror or something like
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah.
the exact setup. But there's like one episode. My favorite episode was The Viewing. It starred Peter Weller, who was RoboCop. It had Eric Andre. It had Steve Agee. It had the gal, the pretty gal from The Mummy that was the Mummy. I can't think of her
Rachel
name right
Weisz.
now.
You mean
the cast?
You mean the Modern Mummy? Yes, I remember.
Yes, the Modern Mummy. There's another episode called The Pickman's Model that is completely based around Crispin Glover.
Oh God,
Yeah.
Crispin.
Okay.
Anything with Crispin Glover.
All right, so
Yeah.
I guess the answer to that is that Casey has, and he likes it.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. I really enjoyed it.
Scariest mom mother in a movie
Scariest mom.
/
Ooh.
mom.
Oh God, I mean,
This is cheating,
I
but
keep
I
thinking
said
Mommy Dearest with the No More Wire Hangers, but
Goodnight Mommy was it the French movie there. She's pretty scary.
It was German, I believe.
Carrie's
Was
mom's
it?
They
It was
just-
French.
Good night. Wait, are we talking about the same movie with the twins?
Yeah, I don't fucking know.
No, I'm pretty sure it's German. They just there's a remake that looked real bad.
The mother from Dead Alive. Pretty
I was
scary.
gonna say, you know who's like a real nasty mom is, because I wasn't on the episode, but I know you guys did one. Orphan 2, Orphan First Kill.
Yes, that's a good one.
Dude,
She's not
fucking-
scary.
She's
though.
badass, dude.
Claire
Calm down.
Danes.
She's not
No.
scary. She's just awesome.
Wait,
How about
hold
Scary?
on. Are we talking about the same mom? She like becomes the bad guy in the season.
Yeah, but
second one.
she didn't scare
Julia
me.
Stiles?
She didn't scare
Julia
me.
Stiles, yeah.
This says scariest specifically.
How about Scariest and also slightly exciting Kathleen Turner and Serial Mom?
Oh, I love Serial Mom so much.
I've actually never seen Serial Mom.
Oh, that's a
God.
great movie.
We used to.
You know what
we
other
watched
movie
Serial Mom, like,
related, like what other
oh,
movie I've always wanted to see, and I own it on VHS. It's got the most amazing cover art. Is Parents.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've
That
never
was when I
seen
used to
that,
watch
but
all
like I want.
So
to.
the first time
That
I
was
got a
Randy
complete
Quaid, right?
Yeah, it's
holiday
Randy
story.
Quaid. I was about to say.
First time I
that
saw that
I'm
movie,
sure is not aged
I saw
well.
it at a friend's house. She was a little bit older than me, and just she got like total access to her parents' VHS catalog. It was amazing. That's what we picked for some reason to watch. The next day, we're driving for the holidays. It was like for Christmas. We were driving to Tupelo, which I will be doing tomorrow. And I asked my parents, what is the kind of adult flashlight that buzzes? Like what is that? And my parents were like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, it's like a lady's flashlight, but it like buzzes like it's a tool. My dad almost got in a wreck and was like, what the fuck have you been watching? I was like, I don't know. It was like a comedy movie. It didn't seem like smut, Dad. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Like, we don't pay for Catholic school for you to go learn about adult flashlights.
I love the phrase "ladies' flashlight."
That's what
I get it.
That's exactly what I said though.
Yeah.
And y'all, you know this when you're a kid. I knew I was throwing a net out there that I wasn't sure I wanted to like see what was.
I
in it.
was
like, I
at-
just like had to know.
I was
It
at a
burning
friend-
my brain.
I was at a friend's house once, and we were watching the full Monty with like her whole family, and like it's a terrible fucking movie. Like who gives a shit?
Did you not? Whoa, hold on.
Terrible movie. Listen, it doesn't matter. So
Agree
we
to
were
disagree,
like
but-
teenagers, and her little sister was probably like 10 or 11 maybe. And somebody in the movie says the word boner. And in front of the whole family and me, the sister goes, "Dad, what's a boner?"
Oh god.
I shit you not. Her dad pretended like he didn't hear her. Just dead, stoic, straight ahead, laser focused. And she said it.
They're like, I know, you all know I'm doing this.
She
but I have to.
she said it again. And the dad ignored her again. And then finally, like somebody else in the family was like, "Shut up."
Oh my god.
I couldn't believe it. That's
Oh my
that's like
Lord.
expert level disassociation to be able to just like
Wow.
not say a word.
I mean, why would you show that? Like, look, whether it's a good
Who
movie or
knows,
not, like
dude?
you
Who
know
knows?
what the movie's about. Like, just don't show it to your 10-year-old. I don't know.
Hilarious.
That was poor decision making.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was nominated for Best Picture
It was.
that year. Yeah. So
My mom and godmother saw it and would not stop talking about it. I do remember that.
yeah,
I'm all set.
it's fun times.
What makes you not smile?
God,
This is like a
watching
shenanigans.
this movie. Actually.
Mine was hour
And
and 50.
hamsters. Can I give an update on Tippy the hamster?
Sure. So that was
after
that on the
Ariel so
hold on,
lovingly
though.
suggested that we euthanize her.
Was that on the
um,
show though, or that was on the
It was
pre or
that
the
was,
pre-show?
Was it pre-show? Okay, she had the best/worst. It will bond me to her for like forever. I will remember her telling me this, and I love it so much. She basically was like, her friend was told by a vet at some point growing up, this is what you do to like, if you've got a hamster problem. And like, so my hamster was sick. And when you call the vet and tell them your hamster's sick, they're basically like, I don't care. Like, we don't do anything about that. And so
they're like, we'll give you some fucking rat poison.
You know what they say?
It's a
they're
rodent.
Like, you're done. But so she died, and luckily it was on my daughter's. I split custody with my ex, and she was not here when it happened, so I had time to like game plan. My client was like, "Oh, why don't you just go get another one?" I was like, "You go get another one. I'm done." Like, I'm not like happy it happened, but it's been 2 years now of Tippy, and it's no small feat. So Ariel was like, you put just a little Benadryl in the water bottle, and then they go to sleep. Ariel wasn't saying she did this. She was saying like this was.
She was in the same. Her friend was in the same situation.
She's heard of this being the thing you do. Yeah. Then when they fall asleep, you put them in the freezer. The end.
Oh man.
Like, oh my god. I mean, though, but here's the thing: to watch a hamster just die of natural causes, it's not fun.
Well, it's not.
And there were a few times I was like, Tippy, you're not long for this sport. You're about to go to the freezer because I don't know what else to do. Because you won't eat, she wouldn't drink. She was in a state, y'all. So finally, one day, and Heidi heard me telling my parents this detail. She asked me like every night, where in the cage did you find her? Because I said, she went to a part of the cage she never goes to. And it just was this like one little corner. It's not like, and she died, and it's sad. And I had to take her carcass to work because the garbage had just gone out. And so she was in my freezer for a little while, and adult stuff.
How did we get to this? What was the question that
I didn't smile when I found
Oh, that was the not smiling.
What makes you not smile?
Hearing that story, actually.
Yeah.
You're
is
welcome.
making me smile a little bit, I guess.
So. Hour and 55-minute horror movies was my answer. Will you be checking out the latest Fart House horror movie, Bones and All? I think so. I think it's on our list.
I really want to see it. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there. Whether it's Fart House or not, it looks way scarier than I was expecting. Like,
the client was watching the trailer and was like, I saw a little bit of it. I tried not to watch a ton, but it looks good as shit, and it looks like super like actual horror. Like, I mean, people are saying adjacent, and to me, it looks very.
John, I haven't seen you. John, I haven't seen you this turgid over a movie in years, so I
know.
I got very excited today. Mark Rylance is in it, who is like probably like a top 5 actor. Like, I mean, he's only been in a couple movies I've seen. He's fucking terrifying. Like, in the trailer, there's a moment where he comes in, and I'm like, oh, what? So, yeah.
Any plans to review Don't Worry, Darling? I just watched this movie, and I think no.
It's not horror, is it? Like,
no, it's not. It's not. It's also not great. Like, it's not awful, but it's not great. I liked the
Styles.
Have you seen it? No, she's Julie.
Again, Ariel. I'm gonna steal her. Thank you, Ariel. It's a beautiful mess. It's gorgeous. Like, it really is.
Yeah, it looks nice. Cool. I think it meanders, but I like the third act a lot. That's kind of my review.
Which is
interesting because that's where most people fell off at.
The ratio of press coverage to like quality of film, it's the highest I think ever. Mm-hmm. Like, it was so talked about for weeks and weeks, and then all the reviews came in and they're like, "No, they're terrible."
It blew up in their face. Like, I feel like
I'm convinced now.
Well, after this week, I don't know that I can watch it.
I am convinced now after watching it that like, I think all of the like drama press was all started by like Florence Pugh's PR team to get out ahead of it in case it bombed, because she came out smelling like fucking roses out of it. Like, I feel like she was the winner by far of all that. People were like, she's the queen, y'all. And like,
well, I guarantee you, so many people are going to see that movie, however they end up seeing it, solely to watch Harry Styles go down on a lady.
Oh, he goes down on her several times, like for you might say enthusiastically, like, but also he's fine. I'll say that he's totally fine. He's really not bad.
Yeah, I wasn't offended by his performance.
He's a perfectly fine actor.
Yes, again, but him and Olivia split up this week. How can you watch this and celebrate it?
So
I was helped by lowered expectations on that one.
Next up, did Smile feel like an early 2000s horror movie to you, and not in a good way?
Yes and
Yeah.
yes.
It felt like a mid 2000, like a 2008. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
I was
Um,
thinking around like era of urban legend.
So yeah, see, no, I think it's more in like when every movie just was like a Wandaverse ripoff with a name like The Demon or some shit like that. Like,
Yeah,
that's what it
that's
felt
fair
like
too.
Possession, The Possession, A Curse. What's a time? Oh no, we're gonna save that for last. Plans to see The Outwaters. Found footage Schnars should enjoy. It's in my top 3 for 2022. I have not even heard.
I've not heard of that one.
What is that?
Yeah, me neither. I'll look it up. This is where I'm like, guys, there's a lot. I'm worried. There's stuff where we haven't seen.
Well, give me a list. I got nothing but time in the next 3 days. I'm showing up like for dinner, and that's it tomorrow.
Yeah, fair enough.
Peacing out, and I actually might go see the movie after.
Unclear
Looks
where we
fun.
can watch this. Yeah, all right.
I think the answer is we're looking into it. Outside of spooky season, which holiday is your favorite?
Christmas.
I think my answer is none, but maybe Christmas.
Yeah.
I like Thanksgiving. This is a high time for me right now.
I was a band nerd. I kind of loved the Thanksgiving Day parade, so I'm pretty into that.
Well, I love that Thanksgiving's on a Thursday. It's always on a Thursday. Like Christmas could be on a Monday, or it could be on a Saturday, and then you got to go to work on Monday. It's like Thanksgiving. You know you're getting.
I'll
Thursday
be honest.
Friday.
When you can't eat normal food and you can't drink, Thanksgiving is like,
why?
Well, what's the point of this? Like,
yeah, when I used to drink a lot, Thanksgiving was.
Yeah. I don't have the best history with Thanksgiving over the years, but I still enjoy it.
I do love that 4-day weekend though. That shit's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm. You're right though. That's a good point. That's like baked into that holiday.
It's a guarantee.
Bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and plus Black Friday gives me.
I usually shop, right? Yeah.
Really, Black Friday gives me the perfect excuse to spend 2 days holed up in my house like a hermit, and nobody's gonna question me.
I know. I kind of need to go.
Black Friday record player.
I need to go like grocery shopping, but like, and I would normally do that on a Friday, but if that seems like a mistake.
No one's gonna
you
be
got to go
grocery shopping. You'll be fine.
Yeah, if you go after like 10 in the morning, you're
But
good.
I do a lot of my grocery shopping at Walmart these days, John. So.
Oh well, then you're fucked.
Green
yeah, but
peas are
still,
not
you
a
go.
Sylvester.
You go after like 10 or 11, you'll be okay because those people have worn themselves out by like 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Right, you got to catch it in between waves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that.
Do y'all remember that SNL bit where it would be like some toy store or a Home Depot, whatever? It's a Black Friday bit, and they'd be like, in the back of the store is $1 million buried under 400 razors. Whoever gets it first.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, last question of the night. What's a time you really pissed your parents off that you're willing to share? I like this one. Who's got one?
I can share. There was a time, probably the most angry I've ever seen my dad. I was like 12 or 13. We were at the beach. We always do like a beach family vacation. You know the like water balloon slingshots where like two people hold like one side and then like one person pulls down. We were shooting water balloons off of the porch of the beach house onto the beach. Hit my dad square in the head. Like I mean, you couldn't do it if you wanted to. Like he was so fucking angry. I thought he was actually going to like punch me. Like he was really, like it was the most scared I've ever been of him by a mile.
That's, How old were you?
Like 12 or 13, like early teen. Like,
okay, so
you're young enough to think that was like a good idea.
Right.
And like, so.
I'm going to say, I mean, it's too many to count for my parents, but my best friend in high school, I went to Florida with her family, her whole family, like would do these like big, like normal functioning families do where they like each other and they like all go
and they have money and
together.
they do things together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I went with her large family. It was super fun. We were playing cards one night with like all the aunts who had that bucket margarita frozen stuff that used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. we had some of that, obviously, and we're just having a great time. And I was like, I guess it's cool since this whole family just seems like a party for me to just literally leave. I was 15, I think, with her cousin, and we just like it was just our own personal episode of Laguna Beach, meandered down the beach and made out a little and whatever, and then came back and the cops were at the condo, and like she had called my parents and we're like, we lost your daughter in the ocean, I guess. I don't know where she is. It was like, I have never in my life gone from like pretty chill mood to like so fucking bummed when I realized like, why are the cops here? And then me and the dude were like, oh my God, no, are they looking for us? It was a whole scene. That sucks too, because like it's your friend's parents being that upset with you feels doubly like you're like, I don't know. That was like mortifying.
Because it takes a lot to be mad at a kid that's not yours.
It takes a lot for them to yell like you're their kid. And that was what was happening, was like her dad was like laying into me like, do you think dirt? Like for real, like I was their kid. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. I will never kiss a boy again. Ever. Ever.
I one time was outside like kicking a soccer ball against the house. I was like a teenager. I was probably like 14 or 15. And my mom told me to stop at some point, which I did not. And our house is not, it's a 1-story house. But the bottom half of that 1 story is like brick. So I was kicking it off the brick. And like I had like chased the ball to the opposite side of the yard, so about as far away as you could get, and turned around and just like teed up on this ball like I was taking a corner kick. It was beautiful. Like it hooked. It had this beautiful like English to it. If this was in a game, this would like somebody would have put this in. This would have been a beautiful assist. But what happened was it went right through my parents' bedroom window in the room where my mom was folding laundry.
Oh, that's perfect.
She had a heart attack a few years before that. I was like, it scared the shit out of her, like this ball crashing through. But honestly, my parents were pretty cool and like they weren't actually that mad. They were just annoyed more than anything. But
I remember. It was like when I was 16. It was when I met my best friend Rick, who is still my best friend. He lives like 15 minutes from me. We see each other regularly. It was the first time him and I were going to hang out after work. He was a year behind me. He had just moved to town. I had a job as a stock boy at this little local 5 and dime store called G.L. Perry. And so I got off work early on a Friday night. And so I called Rick. Hey, Rick, you want to go hang out? We'll go do whatever. And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay, I just got off of work. I'll pick you up. We'll go back to my house so I can change clothes and we'll, go do whatever. Meet people or whatever. Get back to my house and I was off. Because I got off probably like 2 hours early from my shift. So I have a really bad work ethic. Like I've got 4 weeks of vacation I got to figure out how to use up at the end of this year. Like currently that's my work ethic. I work too much. Got it all from my mom. So the first time, I bring Rick to my house. First time he's ever met my mom, and I will say at this point, and 30 years later, Rick and my mom are pretty close too. They get along great and crack jokes and stuff. But it's the first time he'd ever met my mom, and I come walk into the house, and she said, "What are you doing home early?" I said, "They let me off." And she said, Did you ask to get off early, or did they tell you to go? I said, I asked if I could leave early because it was dead. And she said, do you want the lecture now or do you want it later? And Rick was still telling me. He stayed at the side going, oh God, say or later, say later. And I'm like, oh, let's just get it over with, because my mom and I have always been upfront with each other. And she started laying into me. So my best friend Rick, our first time hanging out, and the first time he met my mom was her chewing my ass out for asking to leave work for 2 hours early.
Man,
and
your mom is
tough too, because like you want to walk away from it and be like, they don't beat me, like it's not like wow, like
and
you just didn't catch them on their best day.
My mom was not, my parents, I've talked about him before. My mom was not strict at all, except for about work stuff. She got weird hung up about that stuff.
See, I came from like a super non-confrontational family, and I could like totally call my parents' bluff. So like I remember multiple times, one time in particular where like it was a small town, so we were always just looking for where are we going to drink, right? So sometimes that was like the woods, literally, but sometimes it was whoever's parents were out or whatever. So there was a night where my parents were out, and I knew they were coming home eventually. And I would have been fine if I'd kept it low key, but like this was just this side of low key. There's probably like 10 people or something. And like they got home and I was like ripped. I was drinking like vodka with like gas station juice, like that kind of like mixed in the like liter handle thing. And my mom came downstairs and was like asking me what was going on. And I am like swaying like in the wind. And she literally was like 6 inches from my face and was like, have you been drinking? And I looked her right in the eye and I was like, nope. And she didn't call me out. Like, so I was just like, we just stared at each other and then she like stormed off. And that was that. And then I continued partying.
There were so many times in the past I'd come home. I had a friend who in high school whose mom was a third shift nurse and his dad was a musician. So his parents were never home on the weekends and he had 2 older brothers. So we go out there and spend the weekend, get completely hammered like freshman year high school or something, or even sophomore year. I'd come home the next morning, hadn't slept at all, been drunk all night, whatever, smoking dope or whatever, come home, my eyes all bloodshot and everything. And my mom would say, what are you doing home? And I'd say, oh, my allergies acted up and I couldn't sleep. And I decided to come home. And she'd say, okay, well, go to bed. I'll fix you breakfast. We go to the same house for a weekend and had no alcohol whatsoever. And we play like Mario Brothers for like 18 hours straight overnight. And I come home the next morning because we didn't sleep. And mom's like, you've been drinking. What have you been doing? I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah, your mom sounds kind of hardcore, dude.
No, she's not at all. My mom's like a Disney princess, honestly. It's just every once in a while it comes out.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's family talk with Bloody Good Horror. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving or had a great Thanksgiving, because most of you will probably hear this this weekend. We're back next week. No breaks for us, John. Screw that.
Nah,
we don't need no
look, this
breaks.
is it, man. We got a lot we got to get in.
Crunch time.
Yeah.
So we're doing the menu this week, and then I know John's stressing about it. He'll figure out what's on our plates, I guess, next. Elizabeth, where can people find you when you're not at Bloody Good Horror?
So online, Final Girl Scout. As long as Twitter is still standing, I'm there, I guess, and on Instagram. I have lots of friends that do podcast things and join them frequently. Cinemondo, I'm on pretty regularly with Kathy Slacker, one of our BGH friends of the show.
And you just did a guest appearance.
I did just do a guest appearance because I won a contest for one of my favorite podcasts, Bros Watch PLL 2. It's awesome, and you should check it out.
It's about,
and
when you say
Allison,
PLL, not everybody knows what PLL is.
Well, that's the name of the podcast.
No,
It's
I know,
Bros
but I'm
Watch
just saying.
PLL 2. PLL stands for Pretty Little Liars.
See, there you go.
But yeah, Who's There podcast, I just did an episode. Casey was on recently as well. So yeah, I'm out and about. You can find me.
There you go,
Here
Casey.
sometimes too.
Casey, what about you?
I'm on Instagram, cinema.fromage, and as Elizabeth said, you can find me on the Who's There podcast recently too. So check that out. It's the episode before Elizabeth's.
Love it. Please follow me on Spotify, HY-FY, and also Bandcamp if you're into Bandcamp. So there you go. Hi-fi. Got some new music coming out soon, John. Set your watch.
Look, I'm gonna get that Spotify notification. Sitting by my phone.
Good.
Waiting.
Just wait.
So.
Love it. All right.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for Bloody Good Horror and our review of A Smile. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.